hello and welcome back to the second episode of Not Another Teen Vampire, or 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is what the game is called. This is the tale of Mercutio Vespucci, the Italian vampire. If you haven't seen the other episode yet, I will put a button here to watch it. Just to catch you up a little bit, we're playing 1,000-Year Vampire, obviously. Okay, so the story so far, we have our Italian vampire Mercutio Vespucci, born in the year of our Lord 1503. He's an Italian noble. He was born into privilege. He became a vampire. His dad got it on with a witch and then left her, and she was pissed off about it. She poisoned Mercutio with a potion of vampirism. And so Mercutio is now a vampire. About 100 years have passed, so we are in the 1600s now. Mercutio has developed several memories, and what I've done here as an update technically to last episode is I'm now in a much more lightweight program that hopefully won't have a lot of lag, and I have set it up so that memories 3, 4, and 5 are on a second character sheet, and then there's more room for characters on both of the sheets since it seemed like that was going to take up more space. So hopefully it will go a little bit smoother this time. All right, so about 100 years have passed, and Mercutio has forgotten things already. Namely, he forgot his buddy. We don't even have to mention him, Geraldo. Oh, we just did. But that memory is completely gone. So he has 2 spots open for memories right now. So his second memory is completely full. We've done all 3 experiences, and I made a couple of minor changes. The forest becoming haunted, I just put as part of the first memory, and then the olive wood bow being passed down and employed by his rival's family as servitors. I added that. It felt fitting to go with the Enzo memory. So Enzo's done. We're not going to have any more memories with Enzo. No more memories with the wood, with the bow. That's all crossed out. There are still servitors. They may come up later in the story. We'll see what happens. And let's see here. And then we also put the priest as the second experience as part of memory 3 to kind of show the dark energy of the estate was persisting even with Mercutio killing the priest and putting him in his harpsichord. Okay, so that's a pretty disjointed look at the last episode, so let's just jump right into where we left off. So the first thing we will do is we will roll for, okay, so we got a 5 and 4, so that would be -1. So we're going to go backwards 1. So going back from 13 to 12. New laws or social mores make it harder for you to hide among the populace. How are you nearly caught and destroyed? Check a skill, create a moral criminal who assists you. Oh, this is cool. Okay. So new laws or social mores make it harder for you to hide among the populace. I have no idea. We will ask our story dice. What are these new laws that are making it harder for Mercutio to hide? Okay, so we got a credit card, a raven, and a lock. The raven and the lock make me think of nightfall. Makes me think of, darkness. People set up curfews, for example, especially with, random people being murdered in the woods. It's never good. And then money. I think that there are probably new laws that are requiring, like tax laws. Things that require, so there are curfews happening and there are also tax laws happening. And because of Mercutio's inability to age, there's obviously suspicion with what's going on at Zerialto, his estate. How does that nearly catch and destroy Mercutio, though? Check a skill, create a skill. This may give us a little bit of direction. Pickpocketry. Okay. You know what? Let's say with the pickpocketry thing, with the curfew law, and let's go with pickpocketry. So people are locking their doors at night, and there are new laws for curfew, and it makes it a lot more difficult for Mercutio to move around under the cover of darkness at night. One night he is nearly caught by the local constable nearby. However, he is able to use his pickpocketry skill to avoid being captured. So we've used pickpocketry, create a new skill, and create a mortal criminal who assists you. So here's the scene. Mercutio is on his way back to the estate. He's hurrying under the cover of darkness. It's curfew. The local constable demands that he stop to question him as to why he's out so late. And he has to use his pickpocket skill to get out of this. Mercutio is able to, as he approaches him, Mercutio is able to pickpocket the key off of a passerby of somebody that has just locked their house up. He explains to the constable that he is now heading home, and he goes into this house using the key that he pickpocketed. So that's how we use our pickpocketry. and that skill's gone. And then he gains a new skill. And there's also a mortal criminal that he employs. Well, it just so happens that the building that is being left is a building of ill repute. There are some unsavory types that work there. And Mercutio is aware of what's been going on because he knows what's happening in Florence. And so he is able to employ a mortal criminal to help him set up what amounts to tax evasion for his estate, since there are new laws and the title of the estate Zerialto has come under question. And so this criminal is going to help Mercutio create an alter ego identity. And why don't we just add this as a skill? Tax evasion. Or I think better yet, I think that forgery? I think forgery is a more general. So yes, he has a master criminal assisting him in forging a new identity, new papers, new whatever the old version of passport is. This your paper form of I exist. So there's our new skill, and then let's create our character really quick. This new character is going to be a criminal, and let's give him a name. Drawing on Italian names again from the Nomicon. All right, Bernalto. We're just going to leave him as just the single name, Bernalto. He's an unsavory sort. So this is a mortal criminal. Assists Mercutio with forgery, tax evasion, identity theft. They go, yes, so Bernalto realizes that you need to have the identity of somebody that exists already, and so they go to the graveyard and they figure out who recently died or who died long enough ago that they can take their identity. I know that this is a very modern idea, but I don't know, it's fun for this. We're transplanting it back to the 1600s. And then we got to create a memory that relates to this. I think that we'll just start a blank memory so we can explore some stuff with Ronaldo and the kind of the elements of thievery that are happening. All right, so I was nearly caught by the local constable, but nicked a key that took me into a den of ill repute, where I met and employed Bernalto, who began to teach me in the ways of forgery. All right, that's it for that. Let's go to the next prompt. All right, we have 4. We're going to jump forward 4, so going back to prompt 15. While traveling, you come into conflict with another immortal. Gain a mark. Who are they? What trick did you play upon them? Create a new immortal character. Very cool. Interesting. So let's create an immortal character. So let's ask the dice a couple of questions here. What is the situation that causes us to come into contact with this character? All right, sleeping, an arrow, and a magnifying glass. Well, Mercutio is a vampire, so he sleeps during the day. All right, let's say that Mercutio has been having something strange happen to him, whereas previously his vampiric dreams were sort of akin to meditation. He's now having visions, or dreams, basically. And he's seeing some sort of individual in his dreams that is directing him to follow a certain path. To go to a certain place to discover something. He's not quite sure what it is. So let's now ask the dice. And so he's trying to investigate this because these dreams have kind of just popped up recently. So let's ask the dice. Whose figure that he's seeing? What is it about them? All right. So we've got what looks like a caveman and a little cradle and then a person coughing or throwing up. It's okay sometimes if it just takes a minute to sit and think and go with the first thing that comes in. Okay, so caveman makes me think ancient. He's not seeing a caveman in his vampire dreams. He's seeing something that is very ancient power, and it appears almost as a child, which is strange to him. So it's this ancient being that's appearing in the form of a child, and something is wrong with it. It needs his help. It's sick. Something is affecting its own life force energy. And Mercutio feels drawn to it because this thing has lived for thousands of years, and so he wants to assist it. Maybe he thinks there's something in it for him. I don't know. So let me go back here real quick. Let's create this new character. So we have an immortal character. What should this thing be called? I'm gonna use the Nomicon again because names are hard. Ooh, angelic sounding names. Perfect. Doesn't mean that this being is necessarily an angel. Just wanted a name of something that exists outside of... Okay, so we have Etizol the Immortal, an ancient childlike entity, currently sick or affected by a mysterious source draining its energy. Wants Mercutio to undergo a journey to help it. And he feels drawn to somewhat. Was there anything else? Gain a mark. Ooh, who are they? What trick did you play upon them? There's a new mark that Mercutio gains. And let's say that he tricks Etizol by masking his intentions. He says he's going to help, and he is curious about helping. However, I think he wants to either try to steal Etizol's power, or he doesn't know if he's going to fully help him based on what the requirements are. Like, there's something, he needs something out of it. He needs a favor or something. He does offer to help Etizol in these dreamlike meditations that he's having during his, day sleep as a vampire. What is the nature of this mark that he gains from Etizol the Immortal? Okay, it's on his hand. And it is something to do with movement or moving forward and a path. Okay. So Etizol inscribes this mystical rune on his forearm, like right here. And it kind of shows him almost like a compass, kind of to direct him to get closer to the source of where Etizol currently is in the world, to sense his presence. Yeah, so he has this mark now. This is interesting. I did not see the story going this way. It's cool though. All right, mark acts as a compass and glows when in his presence. And Mercutio wakes up, and Etizol, he sees this rune on his hand, and he knows that, it's not just a dream. This really is happening. All right, so there's our new mark, and we got to create an experience to go with this. And I think that this is going to be worthy of a new memory entirely. So getting rid of our old Geraldo. Okay, so Mercutio met Etizol, the immortal child, in his daily meditations, and was tasked with seeking out a source of energy causing Etizol's affliction. From the perspective of Mercutio, I met Etizol, the immortal child, in my daily slumber, was tasked with seeking out a source of energy causing Etizol's affliction. I am curious, though I do not know if I will follow through. Yeah, Mercutio only holds his word to himself. That's it for that prompt. Let's keep going. I'm not sure how many prompts I should do for this session. I don't know what a normal amount of prompts is. We'll keep going until it feels right to stop. All right, 3 minus 6 is -3, so we'll go back 3 prompts. Will take us to 12. All right, so this is actually the second prompt since we've already done this one. So we go down to this one. Working across generations, you change the laws of society to your advantage. How do you bend leaders to your will? What do you change? Create a resource. Yeah. So over the years, Bernalto and I worked together to help my alter ego gain power via enacted laws to hire condottieri, which were like Italian mercenaries back in the 16th, 17th century, and acquire wealth in so doing through, what's it called when you, extortion, through extortion, yeah. Kind of like prior to the mafia, there was the condottieri. And then do we get a resource from that? Yes. How do you bend leaders to your will? We extort them by force. And what do we change? Create a resource. I own Florence. Current resource, something to represent his increased amount of power. Delete these. They don't matter anymore. I'm going to go back with that key. He's kind of got this key to the city that's been given to him. And nobody messes with Mercutio. He's kind of over the, the Thieves Guild, for example, Bernalto's organization, the condottieri, is very powerful, and people fear him, but he works behind the scenes. So it's a symbolic key, but it is like the key to the city of Florence. to represent his power. All right, let's go to the next prompt. 3 minus 2, we're going 1 forward. All right, so this is a continuation of this prompt, which we've already done. So with the servitors, your servants are numerous, enthusiastic, and sometimes useless. Create a skill based on memory. This is the skill you use to control them. All right, let's do a continuation of memory 4. And I'm seeing now, take a moment to make a new page. So coming back to these are a little out of order, but we needed more room, so we're gonna do memory 4 on this page. So this is a continuation. So I found Etizal's mark gave me new powers, including hypnosis. It's very typical old Dracula style, like look into my eyes, and I can make others do things for me, including my servitors that are extra susceptible, obeying my psychic commands. There we go. So we'll give them a new skill, hypnosis. Next prompt. 1 and 1, that would be 0. So we stay on this one. So your servants bring you a gift you do not want. Create a problematic resource. What would this be? Well, we just established that but it needs to be problematic. So what kind of problem would this cause, Mercutio? What kind of a problem would this item cause? And what is the item? Okay, we've got like a person on a boat, we've got a building, we've got an axe. Okay, I'm gonna say it was a piece of a ship. Like the axe, cut wood, so it's the piece of a ship, so it's like the remains, or just like maybe it's a mast. Yeah, maybe it's a masthead of a ship. And what about, how would a masthead of a ship cause problems for Mercutio? How would this masthead cause problems? Okay, he's covering his face, looking over something, and then there's like Olympus. So a godlike entity, and then like a footprint. So the masthead was connected to an ancient being. So the thing is this stuff with Etizal is kind of building up, but we filled up this memory. So I think what we'll probably end up doing here is getting a diary. 4 memories can be marked with a D for a diary, so we can save certain memories and we can come back to them and reference them and use them for things. Because I think that this is getting interesting with what's going on with this source. And well, years have passed and he's found that this mark gives him hypnosis and heightened abilities, and he hasn't really made an effort to go after helping Etizal, and Etizal has stopped communicating with Mercutio to the point where, but he still has the mark, and it still seems to work for the hypnosis. Let's go to the next prompt. 440. So let's see here. We already did all 3 of these, and so I guess we would move forward automatically. An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Check 3 skills to regain the resource, or check 1 skill to barely survive. An enemy, which former friend did you kill? Where do you flee? An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Let's continue with this Etizal stuff, or we could make it Bernalto. So let's add the ancient masthead, and it is problematic. Okay, I like the idea of using Etizal. So this thing, we'll go with him as the enemy. So this thing that Mercutio took too long to save him, it overcame him and it turned him into this dark being. And so he's become an enemy. And with this heightened connection of this masthead, which is now sitting in Mercutio's like living room, ballroom area, because it's so huge in his estate, then this allows Etizal to, or the corrupted version, to come into his home in the night. And so let's do this one because it's like dark energies on the thing, and this will kind of wrap this memory, even though it's not directly connected to these events. So the dark energies culminated with the entrance of Etizal, the corrupted. He uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Okay. Who gained control of the servitors and Bernalto, his thief friend. So either check 3 skills to regain the resource or check 1 skill to barely survive. So we lose a resource. I'm going to say we lose the servitors. They are now totally controlled by this evil being. Check 1 skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill? Where do you flee? So which skill do we... So I think with this corruption that's happened, we're going to lose the hypnosis and the connection with Etizal. it makes sense with him turning against him, and maybe he gains control of the state, and Mercutio has to flee into the night. And so we will strike out hypnosis. That's gone. And the mark, just for funsies, we're gonna update this thing. It's now like a burned. There's this big unhealing burn. All right. Okay. So control of the servitors in Bernalto. I fled from there with my final strength. All right. Let's make Bernalto. I fled from Zerialto, running into Bernalto. Bernalto, is that what his name is? Bernalto. Zerialto, Bernalto. It's fine, whatever. Running into Bernalto. As I boarded a carriage, I saw Etizal's control in his eyes and had no choice but to kill my friend. All right, so he kills Bernalto, who had been taken over by the Senate. All right, dark energy. Okay, so the dark energy of the estate culminated with the entrance of Etizal the Corrupted, who gained control of the servitors. I fled from Zerialto, running into Bernalto. As I boarded a carriage, I saw Etizal's control in his eyes and had no choice but to kill my friend. Very, very long run-on sentence, but it's one sentence. And where do you flee? Well, he's not going to be there anymore. Let's ask the dice. Where does Mercutio flee to? And then I think that will do it for this time. Where does he flee to? Ooh, we got a scarab, we got a mushroom, and we got a turtle. So I like the turtle and the scarab make me think that he boards a ship for Egypt. Yeah, scarab makes me think Egypt. Turtle makes me think water. So Mercutio takes passage, and the mushroom doesn't have to mean anything. Although it could be that there is some kind of perhaps Mercutio has read about something in Egypt that offers some kind of mystical power, and he wants to take revenge on Etizal, who has taken his estate, taken his servitors, taken control of his friend that he had no choice but to kill. And we'll say that it's 1650 right now. It's halfway through the 17th century. Okay, so that will do it for this time. I hope this was interesting. The story definitely took some unexpected turns with this being showing up and really throwing everything up in the air. He's running low on skills, and he's heading off to Egypt to get some kind of mystical, maybe an ankh or something, some kind of an item that will help him to take revenge on this corrupted being that has taken his estate. All right, so that will do it. Post-game thoughts. I did get that thing that happens where it's like you just don't even know where to go with things, but something I always remember is when that happens, rather than frantically searching for something, just kind of sit and pause and let whatever comes into your mind come into your mind, and then go with that. And I like using those story cubes dice because that really will help me. And even when it's like, what? I will just, the picture will remind me of something which I can then use that concept in the game. So for example, not this time, but the last time I rolled an airplane, even though there are no airplanes in the 17th century, that makes me think travel. Okay, so traveling, for example. And it doesn't have to be like an exact thing. Like when I rolled the turtle and the scarab, for example. Scarab makes me think Egypt. Turtle makes me think boat, sea. It doesn't have to be, the exact word, the exact image. Just whatever idea that conjures for you is what you go with. Yeah, if you're enjoying this, feel free to subscribe if you are not yet. And feel free to send it to a friend if you have a friend that's interested in vampires or you think that they would like this game. And yeah, we will continue Mercutio's tale and see what ends up happening to him. All right. Have a good one.